You know, a lot of people ask that question. What translation is the best? From my perspective, as a Hebrew scholar, obviously there is no better transcript than the original. But obviously most people don't read the original. So if you're going to look for a translation, the best one to use, from my perspective, the best one to use is to go closest to the source. The closest one to the source that's readily available to us is going to be the King James. It's not that the other translations aren't good and don't have their place, but at the end of the day, the more modern the translations go, the more liberal the translators were with how they approached the text. And so, although the King James was not the first English translation, it's really the oldest one we can actually get our hands on. The New King James is fine too. It basically just removes some of the archaic these and thous and things like that. But really, the thing that really should sell us on this, when they found the Dead Sea Scrolls back in 1947, when they finally unrolled them and translated them from the Hebrew back into English. And by the way, in Qumran, where they found the Dead Sea Scrolls, they found 40,000 scrolls and fragments of scrolls. And when they've translated them all, what happened is, like the Isaiah scroll, the one that was completely intact, it was like 99.9 or 99.8% to the King James, with only a small variation in the spelling of the name Nebuchadnezzar for the most part. So that really shows us the integrity of that particular translation. Is it perfect? No. I mean, there isn't a translation that's perfect. Anybody out there who speaks more than one language, you know you cannot get a perfect translation from one language into the next. It's not perfect, but it's probably one of the best ones. The ESV is also a pretty good one, makes it a little bit more modern. Also, watch out for this. A paraphrase is not a translation. Okay, so the Living Bible or the New Living Bible or the Message or the Cotton Patch or some of these other ones, the Urban Bible and things like that, these are not translations. They're what we call a paraphrase. Do not use a paraphrase to establish what you believe or your doctrine off of. You need to establish your doctrine off a translation, and there are very few Bibles that are actually translated. The New King James is just a paraphrase of the King James, for example. It's not a translation. So a lot of Bibles just take the King James and they reword it to make it sound better or more modern, and that's called a paraphrase. So if you're looking for a translation of the Bible, I say go back to the oldest one possible. As a historian, we have a rule in historical research, and the rule is this: the closer you can get, the information that you can get closest back to the original source is the most reliable. And as far as the translations we have, the one that gets closest back to the original source is going to be the King James. So ESV, that's a good one. King James, good. And unless you can go back to the original text, those are the two probably best English ones. Unless you want to get into some Jewish translations, there's one called the Complete Jewish Bible, which is also very good. A lot of Hebrew in it, so a lot of people can't really handle that. Believe me, if you can't handle these and thous in the Old King James, you're not going to be able to handle some of the Hebrew words that are thrown into the Complete Jewish Bible. That's a good one too. The Orthodox Jewish Bible, a good translation as well. Again, a lot of Hebrew in that might give some people some problems. So if you're going to go out and get a Bible, King James, New King James, although it's a paraphrase, it's paraphrased from the original King James or the ESV. Go with those and you should be okay.